Last week, we broke down why the former athlete belly shows up at 35 and why your metabolism isn't the real problem. If you haven't listened to that one yet, go back and start there. It's episode 26. This week, we're going even deeper because even when people understand the problem, most of them still can't fix it. And the reason why is what nobody wants to admit. A lad messaged me recently after listening to the belly episode. He said, "Paul, I know all of this. I know I need to eat more protein. I know I need to train properly. I know I should stop hammering myself on Monday, but I just can't seem to do it consistently." And I get messages like this every week from men and women, all former athletes, all intelligent people, all knowing what they should be doing, but they can't make themselves do it. And the thing is, they think something's wrong with them. They think they've lost their discipline, that they've gone soft. It's not that. It's an environment problem. And once you understand that, everything shifts. Here's what nobody talks about when you stop playing sport. You don't just lose the matches, you lose the entire infrastructure that made you consistent. Think about what you had. A coach who wrote the program. You didn't have to think about what to do. Someone decided for you a schedule. Training was Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. It was in the diary, non-negotiable. Teammates, people who expected you to be there, people who noticed if you weren't. Competition, a reason to be ready. A date on the calendar that demanded you show up in shape. Progressive structure, pre-season into in-season into off-season. Every block had a purpose. Every week connected to the next. You didn't have to motivate yourself. The environment did that for you. You just showed up and worked. Now think about what you replaced all of that with. A gym membership, no program, or a program that you found online that lasts 3 weeks before you get bored. No schedule. You go to the gym whenever you feel like it, and when you don't feel like it, you don't go. No accountability. If you skip a week, nobody calls you, nobody checks, there's no competition, no date to be ready for, no real reason to push on, and then you blame yourself. But you're not the problem. The environment is the problem. You went from a system that made consistently automatic to a situation that makes it nearly impossible. Willpower was never going to bridge that gap. That was predictability. Here's what happens next, and you've probably lived this. You miss a few sessions, you feel guilty, so you go back and train hard for a week to get back on track. Then life gets busy, you miss again, more guilt, bigger restart. Eventually you stop going altogether because the pattern of starting and stopping feels worse than just not training at all. You've done this. Start strong, miss a week, restart harder, miss again, and that's when the real damage happens. Not physical damage, identity damage. You start thinking, I'm just not that person anymore. You stop seeing yourself as someone who trains. You accept the strong, capable version of you is gone, but it's not gone. The athlete is still there. The discipline is still there. What's missing is the structure that used to hold it all together. I had a woman come into the gym last year who had played football until she was 28. She hadn't trained properly in nearly a decade. She told me she'd lost it. 6 weeks into a structured program, she was stronger than she had been in years. She hadn't lost anything. She had just been trying to do it alone, with no system, for almost 10 years. Of course it didn't work. If you listened to last week's episode about the belly and thought, right, I'll just eat more protein and train harder, and you're planning to do that on your own, I put money on you being in the exact same spot 3 months from now, because knowing what to do was never the problem. Doing it alone was. If you're listening to this and you've been stuck in that cycle, training, stopping, starting again, beating yourself up about it, you're not the only one. Most people who reach out to me have been doing this for years, some for a decade. DM the word rebuild on Instagram. I'll ask you a couple of questions and tell you straight whether the 12-week strength rebuild is a fit for you or not. No pressure, just a conversation. Right, let's keep going. Now, some people hear this and think, right, I just need a program, so they download one, or they follow some influencer's training split on Instagram, and it works for about 3 weeks. Then they miss a session, and they don't know how to adjust. So they either try to cram the missed session in later, or they just skip it and feel guilty. Then they have a bad week nutritionally, but the program doesn't account for that. So they carry on training hard on no fuel. Then something flares up, a shoulder, a back, a knee, and they don't know whether to push through or back off. So they stop altogether, and the program goes in the drawer with the last 5. You've probably seen this play out. You've probably lived it. Here's the thing a program can't do. It can't adjust when your week falls apart. It can't tell you to back off when your sleep has been terrible for 4 nights. It can't tell you that the reason you feel flat isn't lack of effort, it's lack of recovery. It can't notice that your form review hasn't come in on Sunday and follow up on Monday. A program is a tool. Coaching is a relationship. The program tells you what to do. The coach tells you when to push, when to pull back, and what to change when life gets in the way. That's what former athletes actually need, not just another plan. A system that adapts with someone holding the standard. So what does that actually look like? I'll tell you what it looks like with me, not the full breakdown. The detail is what the application call is for, but just enough that you can understand the difference. You get a structured 12-week program, not a generic template, but one built around your training history, your equipment, your schedule. Every week, you submit a review form on a Sunday. That form tells me how the week went, what worked, what didn't, how you're feeling. On Monday, I send you my feedback, not a generic check-in, a specific coaching voice note based on your form, adjustments, feedback, what to focus on next week. If your form doesn't come in, I follow up because standards matter. That's the structure, schedule, program, check-in, feedback, accountability. It's not complicated, but it replaces the entire environment you lost when you stopped competing. And that's why it works when everything else doesn't. Here's what it comes down to. Left as is, this doesn't fix itself. You already know that. You've seen it play out. The starting, the stopping, the restarting, year after year. Training was never meant to be done in isolation. There was always a coach, always a schedule, always someone expecting you to show up. That moment, you took all of that away and tried to replace it with willpower. The outcome was predictable. You either rebuild the system or you keep repeating the same cycle. The 12-week strength rebuild puts the system back. Private coaching, structured programming, weekly reviews, direct access to me. I cap intake because I coach each person directly. The current intake is open and numbers are limited. DM me the word rebuild on Instagram or apply at templetownsc.com. I'll review your application If you're fit, I'll walk you through exactly how it works. And if not, I'll tell you that too. You didn't lose your discipline, you lost your environment. Let's rebuild both. Chat to you next week.